Thank you so much for being here, and I would like to welcome Dr. Aris Latham on the dais to give a short presentation about raw foods for radiant health. He's a living example of this raw foods, and he has been on raw food diet for 37 years, and he's vibrant and he's dynamic, all because of his living food habits. He's going to enlighten us on this topic, and he's going to help us to move forward in our journey to choose this living foods and enjoy vibrant health. We welcome you, sir.
Okay, thank you so much. I really appreciate this wonderful moment to be here with you, to share together and to grow together. For me, being here it's an homecoming. It's coming home. You know, it's something that just from being here for the one day, I've already figured out why I do some of the things that I do. Myself, I was born in Panama, in Central America, and at the time that I was born there, it was what is known as the Canal Zone, because it was a U.S. territory. My grandparents went to Panama during the building of the canal, the Panama Canal. They migrated from Jamaica and Barbados. And my parents were born there, I was born there. But my ancestry on my father's side, my paternal great-grandmother was actually born in India, but she grew up in Jamaica. And now I get to see some of the reasons why vegetarianism has been in my DNA, you know, and that's one of the reasons why I feel that I have developed what I have done. Over the years, now it's been 67 years since my birth, and over the years, for a good part of my life, growing up where I grew up, basically all of the foods that we consume were fresh foods. I was born in 1947, and during those times, in the environment that I lived in, which is a rainforest, a tropical rainforest, all of the foods that were available to us were foods that were cultivated fresh or harvested fresh. So even during the times that we were eating fish, chicken, or other animal-based foods, which I did up until the age of 23, but growing up in Panama during that time, if we ate chicken, it was chicken that we had in our chicken coop. And, you know, we killed it that morning, not the day after. It wasn't something that's been preserved and been packaged up. If we ate fish, it was fish that we caught that morning, whether it was from the lake or from the sea. And even if we ate beef or pork or any of those things during those times, it was fresh food. Because during those times, there was no efficient way of preserving something for days. We didn't have adequate refrigeration. We had just ice box. So everything was packed in ice if it was to be preserved. So with that legacy, and leaving Panama at the age of 17 and moving to New York City, I was introduced to a whole different culture when it comes to food, getting into what is called the SAD diet, the standard American diet. And I noticed within a matter of 2 years, my entire life shifted. My energy shifted. I was very athletic when I moved to the U.S. I was on the swimming team, the track team, gymnastics. But within 2 years, I noticed that my energy, my stamina had shifted. And fortunately, during that time, which was in the late 60s, I went to college. I went off to school, to the university. And this is one of the reasons I'm so happy to be here in a university setting, because this is the place where great seeds are planted in virgin minds. So my mind was very virgin at that time and very receptive. So the seed of vegetarianism was planted at that time. During the 60s, it was a very high revolutionary period. And as students on the college campus, we were influenced by peer association. So during that time, we had the hippie movement, back to the land, natural living. And of course, during that time, there was the Vietnam War, which was a food war about rice. And also growing up during the time of the Black Power movement in the US, that we realized that the foods that we were consuming during those times was actually a weapon because they were making us ill, making us very sick. So coming around today to where we are now and what we're promoting with this World Veg Fest is freedom from disease through non-violent food. Because the food, not just then, but even up to today, most of the foods that we consume are weapons. They are actually killing us. So, yes, of course, karma is a very real issue because the death that we cause of a chicken, a fish, a cow, to kill those animals, to consume them, of course, we're going to pay the price because those same animals are going to kill us. Eating a chicken and being sick, being ill for so many years, whether it's high blood pressure, a stroke, diabetes, you name it, we're being punished. We're paying a high price. But of course, our death is not as swift and violent as the death of these animals. It's slow and it's very painful. It is cancer. It is diabetes, high blood pressure, all forms of the disease. It's a slow death, a very, very, very exact retribution for the death that we have caused. But many of us in today's society, we stop when it comes to eating non-violent food. We limit it to the violence that is perpetuated on our animals. But do you know, to actually take a vegetable and cook it is an act of violence? To boil your carrot, you are killing it. Because once you have cooked the carrot, you cannot plant it in a soil and it's going to grow again. You have destroyed the life of that food. So what I share with people is how to preserve the life in your food, because actually it is not the food in your life, it is the life in your food that actually nourishes. So to cook food is an act of violence. You're killing the food. And to eat dead food to promote life, we need to be a little smarter today. We've really grown beyond a lot of our tradition worldwide based on the information that is available to us today. The growing period of a plant that we use to consume as food is actually the cooking process. From the time a banana tree blossoms, we see the banana blossom shoots out on the tree, till whatever period of time it takes, 6 months, a year, for that banana to reach to maturity, ripe, yellow, fit to eat, ready to harvest. It is perfectly cooked. It is well done. So is the tomato, the cucumber, the eggplant. All of our foods, plant foods that are designed for human consumption, we do not have to do what we call today cooking, because all of our foods come cooked by the sun. The sun is the only chef, cooks for all of us, everyone on the planet. And our food is ready to eat when it's fit for harvest. So to take a plantain, a green plantain, and boil it, what you're trying to do is force ripe it. You're trying to accelerate the ripening process. Of course, a green plantain is a starch, is a complex carbohydrate. So for our body to utilize it and get the value out of it, it has to be converted into a sugar, into a simple carbohydrate. And that is the process that takes place from the green to the ripening stage. That's the conversion of turning a plantain or any other food that is fit for consumption into the element that it can be utilized in the body, turning a plantain into sugar. So boiling that plantain, boiling that green banana, all we have done is made it soft and tender that we can consume it. But we did not turn it into sugar. It is still a starch. It is still a complex carbohydrate. And this goes for every single starchy food that we consume. They all have to be converted into sugar. And when you cook them, you destroy what is known as a starch splitting enzyme that turns starch into sugar. So when we eat rice, bread, potatoes, starches, complex carbohydrates that were not converted into sugar, the human body now has to act as a refinery to refine this starch and produce sugar out of it. And that is a very complex job. That is a very big job. So we generally would go to sleep after that big meal because the body is now being challenged to do an act that it really was not adequately designed to do, to produce sugar from starch. Of course we can do it, and how our ancestors, many of our ancestors did it because they were actually working, not sitting the way we are living a sedentary lifestyle today. So if you're very active, if you're running, if you're sweating, you're turning up your engine to cook starch or to process it in a way that you turn it into sugar. So to eat complex carbohydrates and live a sedentary life, it doesn't get converted into sugar and we end up storing it. Because as you notice, practically all of the starch that we consume, we always put grease in them, some form of fat, butter, ghee, olive oil, mayonnaise, you name it, some form of fat. And starch and fat cannot digest in the same medium, in the same body. Fat is what is found with protein. All of your protein-based foods are fat foods. And this is why they are considered protein. In nature, they all come with fat. These are all of your seeds, like cashew seeds, sunflower seeds, sesame seeds, all of your nuts like almonds and walnuts and pecans, all of your fatty vegetables and fruits such as olives, avocados, coconuts. These are protein-based foods. So that's how we identify a fatty food. These foods, for them to digest in the human body, it's actually a mechanical process of digestion that takes place in our intestinal tract. But starches, carbohydrates, bread and rice and potatoes, they digest in our mouth through mixing them with our saliva to produce ptyalin or some digestive starch, digestive enzyme that digest starch, because starch digests in the mouth. So mixing, combining starch with protein, the meat and potato dish, or even soybean with rice, what we find is that they're not going to digest properly because the protein takes over the digestive system, the starch goes undigested, and it ferments. So we begin to have these complications. And of course, many of these foods, for most of us, we always cook them. So in doing that, then the process of digestion even becomes more challenging because you destroy the starch splitting enzyme, the protein splitting enzyme, the fat splitting enzymes are destroyed in the cooking process, in the violent process of boiling. That is violence. You destroy the enzymes that would convert the potatoes into sugar, that would convert the protein into simple amino acid. So your body now has to go ahead and produce the enzymes to do this, to break these foods down. That is a very, very big challenge, a very big job. And if it doesn't get broken down, if it doesn't become digested, then we store it. And we store it in fatty tissues, cellulite, you name it. In our arteries, plaque. It is stored, starches with fat, dried out, and hence we get all of the issues of diabetes, high blood pressures, and all of these medical issues. That is why it is no mystery that, you know, in reversing these things, which has been proven even here in India and many places around the world, you stop putting in the cause, and you now start consuming foods that the body can utilize. And the best foods for the body to utilize efficiently, effectively, without taxing our system is living foods. And I really want to demystify the whole concept of the way it's being presented today as raw food, because it is really not raw food. All it is fresh food. It is fresh food. And this is part of our heritage here, our legacy here in India, is eating fresh food. Because once you cook it, it is no longer fresh. It is a form of processing. And again, it is a violent form of killing the food. And it's not going to actually allow us to live an optimum lifestyle. So really, one of the primary arguments for vegetarianism just doesn't begin simply with thou shalt not kill. And if we hold that principle, then of course that goes beyond killing of our animals, but killing of our plants as well. As human beings, we have invented the art of fire and cooking. And prior to the advent of fire, who knows when, how long it's been since we developed the art of using fire. Prior to that, we never ate cooked food. Before fire, we never ate cooked food, so-called cooked foods. All of our foods we ate were fresh. And even if we were eating animals, of course, we never ate them cooked either. And that is the nature of all animals in the kingdom who eat other animals. They will not eat a dead cooked animal. A lion would pass a dead cow and would not touch it. Because once the animal dies, it dies from toxemia, auto-intoxication. When the blood stops circulating and it's not throwing off the toxins, this is what kills it. So for you to go ahead and eat a dead flesh and then go into cooking it, it is not scientific. This is why in certain cultures they drain the blood out and call it kosher or halal, because the toxins is in the blood, in the liver. that is the filter of the waste. So to actually cook these animals, boil them, roast them, jerk them, barbecue them, because we have the art of fire, and we think we have dominion over all the animals on the planet. We cook them so that we can now call them food and to eat them as if it was intended for us to eat. Some of them we call pets, others we call food. And what is the difference? Because I see people even eat rats and have rats as pets, even right here in India. I see people in other parts in the East cook dogs and eat them. Same like how some cook cows and chickens. So how do you distinguish which one is a pet and which one is my friend and which one is my food? And we go on and we do these types of things unconsciously. You know, just the simple act of going to a beehive and getting the honey from the beehive to feed us, while the bee produced that honey for their babies. That's the food for the baby bee. And we go rob the baby bee of its food so we can use the honey to sweeten what? What do we need to sweeten? We already have sugar cane, liquid sugar. We already have dates. We already have raisins. We have quite a few plant foods that we can use to sweeten. But to go rob the vomit or the regurgitation of the food that a bee produced so that it can make it edible for their babies, we're going to go rob that while we have plant foods that can do that. Of course you can get away with it because bacteria cannot live in honey. So it's not that it's an unsafe food, but ethically, is it ethical? That means that it will be ethical for a bee to come on your mother's breast and suck your milk out of your mother's breast. So why are we doing that? And this is something that I know we understand clearly here in India, because a lot of animals, they are very sacred to us. And of course, some of their byproducts can be very sacred as well. But we have to really look at, is it truly necessary for us while we have plants that produce these things for us? Dates are 100% sugar. Cane, sugar cane juice. But the foods that were intended for us to eat, to consume naturally, are perfectly balanced. Just a simple thing like our coconut, the young coconut, the coconut water, which has more electrolytes than any other food on the planet. It contains 10% sugar. It is spring water. Actually, the coconuts are the breast of the earth. And if we drink the coconut water, it electrifies our body because of the electrical energy. It charges us up. And it also cleanses the body. And it has the perfect amount of sugar, 10%. But now we're drinking bottled water, processed water, things of this nature. So when we make tea with it, or coffee, or use it in a beverage, we have to sweeten it. But if we use coconut water, then we're fine. We don't have to sweeten it. So some of these subtle things that we just take for granted, it's really an insult to nature and to our life that was designed to function optimally on foods that are non-violent, that are ethical. So this is where we are today in the 21st century. We're looking to come up to date in our life based on the information that is now available to us, and also based on some of the modern technology that are favorable to us, where we can actually process certain foods non-violently, that we don't have to actually cook it. We don't have to boil a carrot anymore to make it tender, to extract the nutrients from it. We can put a carrot through a juice extractor and get carrot juice. And we get all of the vitamins, all of the minerals from our carrot juice without even having to put our body to work to take a dead cooked carrot to now turn it into sugar. Because that's what it is. Carrot is a starch, needs to be converted into sugar. You drink carrot juice, it is sweet. So give thanks for modern technology that has now really made the whole cooking process obsolete. So cooking is an outdated technology based on human advancement. You don't have to cook food today. You have the juicer, the blender, the food processor. And we also have a dehydrator. So I can take some eggplants and slice them up and make a nice curry sauce and batter it in the curry and put it in the dehydrator. And I dehydrate it and it becomes texturally jerk. So it's like jerk, barbecue, you know, chicken. You get those textures. And we could do these things with lots of foods. You know, I can take a cauliflower and take a bud from the cauliflower and batter it in a cashew cheese. Non-dairy, non-violent cashew cheese. And put it in a dehydrator and dehydrate it. And it's like a tempura, a samosa. When it comes out, it looks like it's been fried. So let's get up to date. It's the 21st century. Hey. We don't have to grab animals and violently execute them to call them foods. And if we want to eat gourmet style, exciting, fresh foods, raw foods, we can do other processes to it. Later on today, we're having an inauguration of a vegan restaurant here in Chennai. And I'm going to do a demo there. I am going to make a curry plantain dish. Curried plantain, ripe plantain, seasoned with curry and lemon juice and olive oil and some spring onions and some fresh coriander and marinated with some tomatoes in there. You don't have to fry plantain. You don't have to boil ripe plantain. It's already cooked. You're uncooking it. You're actually cooking the sun out of the food when you cook. Because what we're trying to really eat, when we eat, we're trying to transfer the solar energy from the food to our body when we're doing this act of eating. But if you cook the food, you destroy the solar energy, the oxygen. This is one of the reasons why we eat food, for oxygen. And anytime you cook food, there goes the oxygen back up into the ether. And you're eating foods that have been, oxidized. So you have to take anti-acid, antioxidants. We're in the 21st century. And we're here at Anna University. We're in a hall of higher learning, higher studies. And we need to apply some of these things. So we have to get out of the pot. Oh, you don't have to give it up 100%. But at least the main objective in what I share is to get you to increase the amount of fresh food in your diet. For the amount of cooked food that we're eating, we're not eating enough fresh food. You don't have to eat 100% raw food. And some people say, oh, raw foods are not digestible, because they have a different concept of what I speak about when I say raw food. That's why I don't use the word raw food. I use the word sun-fired foods. Sun-fired foods. It has been fired by the sun, cooked by the sun at the perfect temperature, atmospheric temperature, the highest recorded solar temperature ever on the planet, 135 degrees Fahrenheit. Anything above that temperature kills. Kills. Kill you. All human beings, plants, animals, we all live and function on an enzymatic level. Enzymes. Enzymes is the life force within us. And enzymes are heat sensitive. Above 135 degrees, you kill all plants, all animals, all human beings on this planet. Death Valley, California. That's why they call it Death Valley. That is where the highest recorded solar temperature has been. So for us to subject our food to 500 degrees baking, we are really making sure that it's going to be well dead. But you use a dehydrator and keep it below the highest solar temperature, 115 degrees, 120 degrees. You're extracting the moisture. That's what dehydration means. Or you can actually do it in the sun. You don't need to buy an electric dehydrator. You can actually set up a solar dryer. You can sun dry your tomatoes. You can get your steak, your beefsteak tomatoes, and season them with some masala and other spices, and put some of the kala namak, that special salt from India, the black salt, and all your herbs and spices, and take that sliced beefsteak tomato and dehydrate it. And you get a texture that's jerky, that's beefy, a dried tomato. And you season it, and it's like a meat. The eggplant, the zucchini, the carrot, all of these things. We can take this to the ultimate level. And this is what I bring to share with you. For having doing it now for 38 years, not eating any cooked foods. So-called cooked foods, but I do eat cooked foods cooked by the sun, sun-fired foods. I just don't uncook it. I don't cook the sun out of the food, so that energy can be efficiently transferred into my body. Because any other food is going to generate a lot of toxic waste in your body. Toxemia. Toxemia. Most diseases are traced to that. Toxic residue from the food that we eat is in our body, and it poisons us. It pollutes the body. And when you have a lot of toxins in your body has to work a lot to keep processing that toxin. Like every night that you go to sleep. When you go to sleep at night, you're going on a fast. For 8 hours, you're fasting every day, every night of your life. It is built in, it's automatically, it's a safety valve that our Mother Nature put into us. That we have to sleep. It's involuntary. We have to go and repair our body at night. We have to plug in to the universal pranic energy. So we're doing that when we're sleeping. And what is taking place is the reparation period. The body is being repaired. The cells that we can no longer utilize are being broken down. And new cells are being built in our body during that 8-hour period. So you need that sleep. And then when you wake up from sleeping for the next 8 hours, the second phase of your day is the elimination period, where you give off the waste that was generated from the repair work that took place while you were sleeping. And that's 8 hours. Of course, the English, trying to be exact, they call it the break fast period. Break fast. You call it breakfast, so you don't even realize what you're doing. You have a strange English accent, and you say breakfast, and you think it means, you know, let's eat fast. But it's the break fast period. It's the breaking of the fast. And it's just not one meal. It's 8 hours. And it's a period of elimination, giving off waste out of the body. Our skin is the largest organ of elimination. So that means we need to get out in the morning and go sweat. 5 o'clock in the morning, go in the farm, go in the field, and pick some sugar cane. Go climb a coconut tree. Go do yoga for a cause. Climb that coconut tree. Climb that mango tree. Sweat. Break a sweat. Eliminate. Drink. Drink coconuts in the morning. Coconut water. Take an internal shower. We're so external. We go take an external shower because we're looking at this, but we're not looking inside, and the internal shower is more important because what you see here was made on the inside. So if you take that internal shower every morning, coconut water is the best for an internal shower. First thing in the morning, that young coconut water full of electrolytes is the highest grown food on the planet. And it has more moisture than anything else, 100% moisture. And they say it's got more electrolytes than anything else, which means it is more electrical. So these foods, the fruits, the foods that are grown high, the high-grown foods in nature that are high in moisture, I call them the electrical foods, because they clean you out and they charge you up. And this is what we need in the morning, in the breakfast period. Liquids. We want to flush our system out. You want to go in there and hose out your intestine, your colon, from here, not through here, colonic irrigation, but from here. Coconut water, orange juice, watermelon juice, pineapple juice. Hose it out. Wash out that internal shower. Some people wake up to an internal shower of dirty water, coffee, muddy waters, coffee. Do you go turn on your shower in the morning and you get a brown muddy water to externally bathe yourself? So why are you doing that internally? Thank you. Thank you. Coconut water, the water of life. The water of life, the coconut tree. It's a distiller. It's a filter. And they grow by the seaside. It pumps water out of the sea, the most mineral-rich source of energy on the planet, the seawater. Coconut trees pump that water out, and the sun draws it up. So you got that God power in the sun. I mean, as far as, and God energy that affects everybody on the planet, undeniably, it's the sun. And it pulls that coconut, that water up that coconut tree out of Mother Earth, the water of life out of the Mother Earth. And the coconut tree is the male energy. And the water comes up and it gets distilled. And Mother packs it for us in these coconuts. It's like mother's breast. You puncture the coconut and the milk, the water just spouts out like the milk comes out of our mother's breast. Okay, but can you imagine a male energy, a coconut tree with 300 breasts coming out of, supported by Mother Earth and being processed, cooked by the sun. And this is the fruit, the coconuts, our liquid, living water. That is dead, that is stagnant. That bottled water is stagnant water. We want a living water, coconut water, watermelon. Even the English folks told you that melon is water. They call it a watermelon. So then my orange is a water orange. My pineapple is a water pineapple. So when I'm drinking fruit juice or vegetable juice, I'm drinking water. But not blank, sterilized, packaged, processed water. I'm drinking living water, fresh water, with electrolytes, with vitamins, with minerals. It's hydrating me, and it's nourishing me, and it's cleansing me, and it's energizing me because I don't have to work. My body doesn't have to work to make sugar from rice milk as it can just drink coconut water, coconut milk. And you can make almond milk. Soak your almonds, blend it in coconut water and drink it. Plant milk, cashew milk, sesame seed milk, some seed milks. You don't have to drink milk from another animal. Human beings are very strange creatures. How are you going to go drink from another animal their milk that was designed to raise a calf? Cow's milk is designed to build the body of a calf. And you know, cows, no disrespect. I know the cow is very sacred here, and I love the cow, and the milk is very sacred, but we can use plant milks as well. Plant milks, just the right amount of fat, protein, everything in the proper proportion designed for us. And on and on. I mean, there's so much I can share with you. I have probably 1,000 hours of science that I can stand here for 1,000 hours and unlimit information I can share with you and for us to see how we've been violently destroying our life through eating. Through eating. So come on back home. Come back home to self. Come back home to self. Our body is a temple as we know it here clearly in India. It's a vehicle for our spirit to journey in this life. And for us to take this body and treat it the way we treat it, we better call the animal rights group to check the human body, which is an animal, and see how we ourselves are not doing it right to this animal that we sleep in, that we live in. We live in this animal. We don't live in a house. We live in our body. This is our house. This is our temple. And I feel the human body is as an endangered species as any other animal out there. We are killing this animal. How can you meditate inside this temple if it's got flatulence, if it's sneezing and coughing? It needs to be still. And the foods that make it uncomfortable, ill, disease, are challenging us as spiritual entities, as spiritual beings. So we can free up ourselves from the bondage of living this type of life so violently, so unnecessarily putting things into our body that the body was not designed to process. So after you wake up in the morning and you drink your coconut water and you take that internal shower, for the rest of the morning, for that 8-hour period, all you need is liquid and fiber. You want to sweep out, mop, scrub, do all you got to do. All you got to do to really get the body ready for the rest of your day. And the rest of your day naturally should be from 12 noon to 8 p.m. When you sleep, the ideal time to sleep, 8 p.m. to 4 a.m., 2 hours after sunset, and you wake up 2 hours before sunrise. From 4 a.m. to 12 noon, you rise with the sun. As the sun rises, you rise with the sun. You eat the foods that are grown high. The electrical foods, the fruits, the high moisture foods, and fiber. Then from 12 noon to 8 p.m., you come down to earth and you eat the starches and the protein with your vegetables. So I have this information that I've put together in a poster form, and it breaks down the 4 different groups of foods. It breaks down your daily cycle, weekly, lunar, and seasonal cycle, what to eat, what time, how to eat it. I have DVDs that explain this. So my assistant Verona, she has these products available for you. And I really wish I had my 1,000 hours to give you all that you need. But this is just an introduction. This is just a tip. And I really look forward to coming back home to India to share as much as I can with you. Thank you so much. Really appreciate you. I love you. Thank you.
Let's give him a big applause.